Hello students, today we are going to start a new chapter of plus 1 biology, cell, the unit of life. Cell, the unit of life. We know that Earth is full of biodiversity. In this biodiversity, there are many microscopic organisms as well as very large in size organisms. But all these organisms cannot survive with cell, without a cell. So we can say that cell is the structural and functional unit of life. The cell is the structural and functional unit of life because no organism can be survived without cell. Cell was firstly observed by Robert Hooke, or we can say that cell was discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. But the cell which was discovered by Robert Hooke was dead cell. This was a dead cell. It was observed in a thin slice of cork. A thin slice of cork. In 1677, the first living or moving cell was discovered by Anton van Leeuwenhoek. In 1677, Anton van Leeuwenhoek discovered the first living cell, living and moving cell of spermatozoa. So we can see that the cell was discovered by Robert Hooke, but the cell which was discovered by Robert Hooke was dead cell. The living first cell discovered by Anton van Leeuwenhoek in 1677, and that cell was living as well as moving, which was seen in spermatozoa. After that, we can say that there are some organisms which are made up, the body of some organism is made up of single cell, and some of them are made up of two or more than two cells. So we can categorize the organism on the basis of cell present. Two types, unicellular organism and multicellular organism. On the basis of cell, organisms are of two types, unicellular, these are also called single celled organisms, or multicellular. The organism which have only single cell, with the body of the organism which is made up of only single cell, those organisms are called single celled organism. For example, amoeba, diatom. The body of these organisms are made up of single cells, so they are called unicellular organism. Multicellular organism, the organism which contain two or more than two cells. The body of these organisms is made up of more than two cells, so they are called multicellular organism. More than two cells, so they are called multicellular organism. For example, human being. A cell consists three parts, which we will discuss later. Firstly, cell theory. The cell theory Firstly, in 1838, Malthus Schleiden, a German botanist, who said that the plants are also made up of cells. So we can say that in 1838, Malthus Schleiden proposed that all plants are made up of cells. So they propose plant cell. At the same time, in 1839, Theodore Swan proposed that all animals are also made up of cell. So we can say that Malthus Schleiden in 1838 discovered the plant cell. He proposed that all plants are made up of cell. Same, in 1839, Theodore Swan also proposed that all animals are made up of cell. So animals are made up of cell. It was proposed by Theodore Swan. Theodore Swan also showed that the animals which contain cell, outside the cell a thin membrane is also present. So that is called plasma membrane. So about plasma membrane also proposed by Theodore Swan. He also proposed that in plants, outside the plasma membrane, one another membrane is also present, which is called cell wall. So Swan proposed that animal cell, the cell is made up of a outer membrane that is called plasma membrane or cell membrane. In plants, one extra membrane is also present outside the plasma membrane, that is called cell wall. But Theodore Swan and Schleiden both not proposed that how these cells are made up of. ये cell कैसे बनती है? This was not proposed by them. How the new cells are produced. In 1855, Rudolf Virchow, who proposed that the new cells are produced from the pre-existing cell. He proposed that the cells, or you can say that the new cells, are produced from their pre-existing cell. So we can say that cell theory was modified by Rudolf Virchow. He modified the cell theory because both the above said scientists only show that plants are made up of cell, animals are made up of cell, but they don't show how the new cells are produced. In 1855, Rudolf Virchow proposed that the new cells are produced from pre-existing cell, and this is called cell theory omnis cellulae cellula. Cell theory called omnis cellulae cellula. This theory was called as omnis cellulae cellula. It means the new cells are produced from pre-existing cell. Clear? Now we can say that a cell consists different parts. A cell contains mainly three parts: cell membrane, cytoplasm, and nucleus. A cell contains three main parts. Which are spores. This is a cell and it contains a nucleus. This is a cell of any organism. We know that according to Theodor Swan, the cell contains outer membrane which is called cell membrane or plasma membrane. It is the plasma membrane as well as we can say that cell membrane. And just inside the cell, a spherical structure which is called nucleus. Nucleus was discovered by Robert Brown. Nucleus was discovered by Robert Brown in 1831. In nucleus, all the nucleons present, we can say that some genetic material such like as DNA, RNA, chromosomes, etc. are present in this nucleus. And the gap between the nucleus membrane and plasma membrane, this gap is filled with a fluid, and that fluid is called cytoplasm. So we can say that there are three major parts of a cell: cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. Cytoplasm, the fluid which present between the plasma membrane and nucleus, that is called cytoplasm. In this cytoplasms, many cell organelles, the small parts which help to perform the function of the cell, those small parts are called cell organelles. The cell cytoplasm contains cell organelles. These are the small parts of the cell which also help to perform the function by the cell. Cell perform function. That function was performed with the help of these cell organelles such like as mitochondria, lysosome, vacuoles, ER, endoplasmic reticulums, Golgi complexes, such like as. Clear? So we can say that there are three major parts of a cell. But some cell contain nucleus membrane and some may not. So we can see that on the basis of nuclear membrane, we categorize the organism into two types. If the organism contains nucleus membrane, those are called eukaryotic. And the organism in which nucleus membrane is not present, those are called prokaryotic. Nucleus membrane. We categorize the organism on the basis of nucleus membrane. Eukaryotic or prokaryotic. If we categorize the organism, then we can say that eukaryotic and prokaryotic. If we categorize the cell, then we can say that eukaryote cell and prokaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell or eukaryotic organism, the nucleus membrane present. If the organism contains nucleus membrane, distinct nucleus membrane can be seen. So all the nucleon is also membrane bounded. Those organisms are called eukaryotic, such like as protist, fungi, plantae and animalia. These all are eukaryotic organisms. Prokaryotic cell or prokaryotic organism, the organism in which no nucleus membrane present, all the nucleon is also embedded, scattered all over the cytoplasm. There is no nucleus membrane, such like as this is the cell membrane. You can see that this cell, it contains cytoplasm as well as the nucleon, DNA, RNA and all the genetic material also embedded into this cytoplasm. There is no nucleus can be seen. Those organisms are called prokaryotic organism and cell is called prokaryotic cell. For example, Monera. Monera contains bacteria. In bacteria, there is no nucleus membrane can be seen. Clear? So on the basis of nucleus membrane, we categorize the organism two types: eukaryotic and prokaryotic. Now, one more important thing is in eukaryotic, except then one cell organelles, all the cell organelles are also found in bounded membrane, such like as Golgi body, mitochondria, lysosome, endoplasmic reticulum, these are the cell organelles, and these cell organelles are also found membrane bounded. It means they are also covered with membrane, except then ribosome. Ribosome, whether the cell is eukaryotic or prokaryotic, in both it doesn't bound. There is no membrane bounded organelles, not membrane bounded. It means this is the single cell organelles which is found in eukaryotic or prokaryotic organism without covered membrane. In prokaryotic, these organelles are present, not membrane bounded. Eukaryotic, these cell organelles are found with membrane bounded. In prokaryotic, there is no membrane bounded present. Ribosome, this is an exceptional case. This cell organelles, whether the cell is eukaryotic or prokaryotic, it doesn't contain membrane. One more, if the cell is animal cell, one extra cell organelles, that is called centriole. This centriole also found only in animal cell, not in plant cell. This is also not membrane bounded. Not membrane bounded organelles. So if the cell is animal, then we can say that there are two cell organs, ribosome and centriole. And if it is plant cell, then we can say that only ribosomes. Ribosomes are also found on mitochondria, Golgi body, as well as endoplasmic reticulums. They are also found on these cell organelles. Clear? Now, shape and size of the cell. Shape and size. Of the cell. The shape, cell of different organism have different shape. They are found columnar, cuboidal, polygonal, irregular, disc-like, cup-like. Different type of organism contain different types of shape. Different organism have different shape of the cell. Shape of the cell. So we can see that cell has in different organism or different shapes, such like as polygonal, cuboid, columnar, spherical, cylindrical, irregular. There is no definite shape, disc-like. So, etc. So we can say that in different organisms, the shape of cell is also different. Size. That there is different size of the cell. The smallest cell the smallest cell found in mycoplasma, which is length is near about 0.3 micron meter. The smallest cell of the organism, that is mycoplasma, the size of the cell is 0.3 micron meter. The largest cell of ostrich egg, which is nearly 15.5 centimeter in length and 12.9 centimeter in width. And if we can calculate the circumferences of this is 45 centimeter. So we can say that is the largest cell of ostrich egg and the smallest cell is mycoplasma. The size of human RBC is nearly 7 μm. The size of bacteria is nearly 3 micron meter to 5 micron meter. So we can say that different organisms have different size of the cell, different organisms have different shape of the cell. Clear? Now, what is protoplasm? Protoplasm is the colorless fluid which contain cytoplasm, nucleus and cell membrane. Protoplasm is the colorless fluid which contains cytoplasm, nucleus and cell organelles. This all makes the protoplasm. This protoplasm was discovered by Duzenard, but the name proposed protoplasm by Purkinje in 1839. Protoplasm was discovered by Purkinje in 1839. Actually, this word was only proposed by Purkinje, but the protoplasm which contains cytoplasm, nucleus and cell organelles, this was proposed by Duzenard. So we can say that, but nowadays we can say that protoplasm was discovered by Purkinje. This is the all introduction of the different types of cell. In next part we will discuss on prokaryotic cell.